plan with her. I would. I'd like to make a motion to open the February 20th, 2020 Town Board as Police Commission meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
To make a motion to approve the Town Board as Police Commission agenda.
Second.
And I have no announcements. I'd like to make a motion to go into
I said all in favor, aye.
all in favor, aye. I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session to conduct interviews and discuss personnel matters. And I'd like to invite Tony Hokinson to join us.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Right back.
Let's do it.
I make a motion to come out of executive session,
Second?
and do you want to vote to appoint Tony or wait?
I'm happy to, if we want to do that, maybe just not set the term.
Yeah.
So I guess let's vote to end executive session, right? So all those in favor?
All right.
And then do you want to nominate her?
Yeah, I'd like to nominate Tony Hokinson to serve on the Town Board as Police Commission.
Second?
No, wait, sorry,
The-
not that, I misspoke. To serve on the,
Advisory committee?
yeah,
Yeah, community advisory.
the Citizens Police Advisory Board.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Shoo. And with that, I'd like to open the floor for public input. If anyone has any comments. If not, let's, do you want to do the monthly report, or should we make some recommendations? Motion to recommend the following hires, transfers, promotions to the town board?
If you want, we'll do the report really quick.
Yeah, okay.
Seeing that they have to stay for the town board meeting anyway, and I know we're waiting for one officer to get here.
Okay.
I was working a shift, actually, that we're gonna be looking to put on for one of the full-time slots. So, and then we will need a short moment of executive session just to do some updates on some personnel issues.
Okay. So, over to you for the monthly report.
Okay, so so there's no letters of commendation for this month, and we have 2 defensive actions for the month of January. The first defensive action has 2 reports filed. It has to do with 2 individuals for the 2 reports, but it's the one incident, which was a fight. First subject, 21-year-old male, 5'11", 190 pounds, medium build, white, non-Hispanic, disorderly conduct. The other individual, 22 years of age, male, 5'11", 170 pounds, medium build, white, non-Hispanic. Again, disorderly conduct. Both were apparently under the influence of alcohol at the time. Both individuals were engaged in a physical altercation in front of one of the establishments on Main Street. The officers that handled the call, each of them announced their presence, told them to stop fighting, which they continued to still fight. Each officer grabbed their individual defendant at the time and put them in a bear hug and took them to the ground where they were placed into custody. Neither was injured during that arrest. No further action. The second defensive action has to do with one individual, and 2 reports were filed. 38 years of age, male, 5'10", 230 pounds, large build, white, non-Hispanic. Charges were disorderly conduct, harassment, and resisting arrest. Also suspected to be alcohol, under the influence of alcohol. The individual was also involved in an altercation, was told to leave the establishment that he was at, continued to be in a violent manner, continued to ignore warnings of leaving or being charged. Officers that attempted to approach the person advised him he was under arrest for disorderly conduct, at which time he began to walk away and then took a fighting stance with the officers. When the officers went to approach him, he then took off and they ended up tackling him on the ground. He still refused to listen to verbal commands, put his hands behind his back, continued to fight with the officers, and yell different racial slurs at the officer. They were eventually able to gain control of the individual, handcuff him, nothing further. At the time, he complained of back pain. He was checked out by the New Paltz Rescue, was called, but he refused any medical treatment. He refused treatment at the station again, and also refused to have any photographs or anything taken by the sergeant, which we do. That's custom anytime somebody indicates that they have some injury. And that's all we have for those reports. We still missing one officer here?
Why don't we go into executive session?
Executive session,
I'd
great.
like to-
Can we also invite Lieutenant Lucchese?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session to discuss personnel matters
Second?
and invite Chief Snyder and Lieutenant Lucchese. All in favor?
Aye.
taken.
Second.
And we have a few minutes. Are all the officers here?
Yes, they are.
I mean, so I guess would like to make a motion to recommend the following hires, transfers, and promotions to the town board. Approval to hire part-time officer David Dugatkin. Approval for the promotion of Officer Brianne Quigley from patrol officer to patrol sergeant. Approval to promote Officers Zachary Mitchell and Jerome Milton to full-time status. Approval for transfer of Patrol Sergeant Matthew Sutton to the Detective Division as Detective Sergeant.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And I think with that, we're probably done.
Yeah, we can start the town board meeting.
So we can
as soon
start
as
the
you
town
want.
board meeting as soon as you let me know when all the officers are here.
Everybody's here, everybody's ready on our.
So we can start the town board meeting early, and we can do all of that right now.
That'd be great.
That's great. Let's do it.
So I'd like to make a motion to close the Town Board as Police Commission meeting,
Second.
and I would like to make a motion to open the February 20th, 2020 Town Board meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda with some, and I'd like to make some changes as well.
Second.
And I would like to move up the recommendations to the town board from the police commission before public comment, public input, so we can get them out of here and they don't have to sit here and listen to us get yelled at. So, and if
You want me to start?
everyone's in favor of, yeah, sorry, if everyone's in favor of that? All in favor?
Aye.
And now, so now we can start, sorry.
Okay, what I'd like to do is, we have some openings for our full-time status, so I'd like to start with that. We have 2 openings in our patrol officer. I made a recommendation to the commission to take 2 of our part-time officers, to move them into a full-time position. They are on our local list, so I'm happy to offer them to the board for approval to be hired. Officer Zach Mitchell, come on up, and Officer Jerome Milton. So Zach Mitchell, you may recognize both of these gentlemen. Zach's been with us about 2 years and has been part-time status with us. He's done a fantastic job. Been part of the NPPD family, and I'd like to make a recommendation for him to begin his full-time status on the 21st, which is actually tomorrow, filling in a vacant shift. So we'd like to have him begin that process. Then we have Jerome Milton. Jerome has been with us about 6 months now. Got that about right? A little more?
A little more.
Okay. I blink and another year goes by. So he's been with us. He's doing a fantastic job. We brought him on part-time. Grew up in our community. He's been a great asset to us. And again, part of our family. And we'd like him to also begin a full-time status with us. And his date would be effective February 24th, which is Monday, 2020.
Great. Well, yeah, I'd like to make a motion to approve the promotion of Officers Zachary Mitchell and Jerome Milton to full-time status.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
You guys know what you're getting into, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Hi.
Then we can have Matt Sutton come up.
Yes. Yes.
So Sergeant Matt Sutton, he's been our night supervisor for 5 years. Was promoted in 2014. Before that, he was in our detective division for about 2 years. He started with our agency in 2008. Been a phenomenal asset to our agency when he was a detective and obviously as our night supervisor. We'll miss him on the nights, but I'm sure there'll be, his shoes will be filled with another one coming in. He's taking care of that training now, but we'd like to make a offer to the town to move him to the detective division as our detective sergeant to oversee that division.
So I'd like to make a motion to transfer Patrol Sergeant Matthew Sutton to Detective Division as Detective Sergeant.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And I know Dave Diakin is not here tonight, but that's offering that to the town for the part-time position.
Yep.
He's going to be a big asset he was an asset to our agency when he worked with us in the past. He's going to be taking care of a lot of our discovery demands with the new justice reform laws. So we're looking forward to having him come on board. So we're all set to move forward with that if you want to do that, even though he's not here.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to approve the hire of part-time officer David Dugatkin.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and last but not least, Brianne Quigley, come on up. So this is Brianne Quigley. She's been an officer with us since 2012. Don't need to say much about her because everybody knows about her. They see her face out there in the streets. She's been a phenomenal asset for our agency since she's been hired. We were happy to do incredible interviews. We had 4 candidates, so it was a very difficult decision because we have very good qualified people. We're very fortunate. Brianne actually did a fantastic job during the interview, as well as being on the sergeant's list. So with many pieces of input from our supervisors that presently work for the agency during the interview, we'd like to recommend Brianne Quigley to be a police sergeant for our department.
Great. Yeah, I'd like to make the motion to promote Officer Brianne Quigley from patrol officer to patrol sergeant.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Congratulations. So I do have one thing, seeing that usually we do swearing in at these, don't go away yet. Usually we do swearing in at the town board meetings also. We're unable to do that, seeing that our clerk is out here tonight. So they all will be going in to get sworn in either tomorrow or Monday. But in the meantime, I wanted to present her with her sergeant's shield. And you'll get your ID and everything after you begin that on Monday, but congratulations.
Thank you very much.
So you get everything else soon. And these are just those documents for that, for both hires. That's the officers, this is the sergeants.
Okay.
And then I'll touch base with Gene and Arlen this week for the forms that we fill.
Great, well,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you very much. That's all you had for me, right?
Yeah, I think that's it, and, so it's 7 o'clock, I guess we will open the,
Public input.
yeah, well,
Very
so,
much. Thank you guys all.
so
Congratulations.
I think we're gonna start with, we're gonna open the public, or continue the public hearing for the critical environmental areas, and so we have, we'll let people, we'll take a break for a few minutes and let people walk out. So we're going to open or continue the public hearing for the critical environmental areas. And so if anyone has any comments they'd like to make, please come up. We're not going to close it tonight, we're just going to keep it open. So if people come up, they want to say something. If not, we're just going to leave it open for a while. And I think you might be on the agenda as well, Ingrid. If not, then you're welcome to come up and talk now or later, right? So, yeah, I think maybe, Ingrid, you might want to you could come up now and talk as part of the public comment. And you're welcome to sit at the table if that's easier for you, or stand there, or whatever you would prefer.
What's easier?
That's whatever's easiest.
Come take a seat. Why don't you do that? There you go.
Huh? No, that's okay. Hi. How are you? Good.
Is the mic okay? Good.
All right. Well, good evening, members of the town board. I'm Ingrid Heckel, chair of the New Paltz Environmental Conservation Board, and I'm a resident of Plutarch Road. I trained as a biologist and geographer, and I've worked for the last 9 years in the field of conservation and environmental planning in the Hudson Valley. New Paltz is endowed with some exceptional and unique environmental features, including globally significant forests and regional wildlife corridors, high-quality wetland complexes, and habitats for threatened and endangered wildlife. We're in the midst of a biodiversity crisis and a climate crisis, as you've recognized, that threatens the life as we know it. The land use decisions we make today will have lasting impacts on natural areas in New Paltz and the numerous benefits they provide our community. At the last public hearing, I presented this proposal for establishing 6 critical environmental areas, which is a designation under SEEKR that allows the town to recognize areas with exceptional or unique environmental characteristics. And we heard some very supportive comments on that proposal at the last meeting, as well as some concerns since then about how this designation might affect private property rights. We encourage everyone to go and read the CEA proposal, which is not very long, or the FAQ document, which are both on the town website on the environmental conservation page. You'll see that the CEA designation does not affect construction of a single-family home, additions, minor accessory structures like garages or swimming pools, among other things. In short, it doesn't affect the vast majority of property owners and the typical activities they might undertake on their land. For those who might want to subdivide or do some other type of project already subject to environmental review, the planning board would need to consider on a larger scope how the project might impact a CEA. And the bottom line is CEAs do not protect land or prevent development. They do not take away any rights of property owners. They simply require consideration of potential impacts as part of a broader environmental review. Now, we've heard the concern that this may nonetheless create a burden of proof for applicants because the planning board won't know how to judge possible impacts of a CEA. But the planning board has access to a lot of existing information and maps and guidance that can be used to assess projects in these areas. In addition, New Paltz just received a grant to compile a townwide natural resources inventory that will be published as easily accessible online maps. You'll be able to zoom in to a parcel and turn on the different map layers to see what is already known in that area. And that, together with the scope of any proposed new development, could be used to determine whether additional information is needed or not. And for small actions, most small actions, we believe, the likely result will be that no further study is needed. Larger projects, which already require a SEEKR assessment, could include relevant habitat information tailored on the specific features and areas of concern in that CEA. Now, hypotheticals are hard to judge, so we did some research to find out how CEA designation is actually impacting or has impacted project review in 2 nearby towns, Hyde Park and Shawangum, which have had CEAs for about 15 and 30 years respectively. Neither of the planning board chairs I spoke to from those communities said that CEA designation had been the basis for a positive SEEKR declaration, nor that it had resulted in a burdensome review process. Rather, they said the CEA designation resulted in a deliberate focus on the particular resources of concern in that area that might be impacted, and together with other considerations like protected species habitat, wetlands, or steep slopes, helped guide developments to reduce impacts. Back to our proposal, we've heard the argument that New Paltz's SECRA process is already rigorous enough, and that our local laws regulating wetlands and watercourses, floodplains, and steep slopes provide enough regulation in the town. Our local laws are robust, but they are currently applied parcel by parcel, project by project, without requiring consideration of the broader ecological context. Without CEA designation, there's no specific requirement or opportunity to consider the bigger picture during environmental reviews. And of course, we all know that wildlife do not limit their habitat to 100-foot buffers generally and things like of that nature. So our current regulations do not affect many of the types of features and issues we're talking about in this proposal. We have heard concerns that CEAs will somehow stifle commercial growth and impact the tax base. However, the only proposed CEA that overlaps a business or industrial zone is the Swartikill Wetlands area along Route 299 near Ohioville Road. We delineated that CEA to include a 300-foot buffer zone around the wetlands, and within the business and industrial zones, however, the buffer area has already been, for the most part, developed, with the exception of 7 acres owned by Central Hudson and a ½ acre of land on North Ohioville Road. Note that the remaining CEAs are in residential zones, 70% occurring in the A3 zone, and based on this, and recalling that CEA designation doesn't prevent or restrict development, we contend CEA designation will have no measurable impact on potential commercial or industrial development in the town, and by that measure on the resulting tax base. And by another measure, a lot of people are drawn to New Paltz for our beautiful landscapes. A lot of the tourism activity that generates is because of these CEAs. We furthermore note that the highest concentration of CEAs in New York are in the most developed areas of the state, Westchester and Long Island. These continue to be the fastest growing areas of the state, and there's no evidence that CEAs are slowing things down. Rather, that the CEA designation is more likely to occur in communities that have already experienced some undesirable environmental impacts from development. Wouldn't it be better for New Paltz to plan proactively for the future of our greatest natural assets? Which brings me to the areas we have proposed. We've heard concerns that the proposed areas are too large. The CEAs are large because the natural areas themselves are large, which is part of why they're so exceptional. On this question, I reached out to John Nolan, professor of law and founder of Pace Land Use Law Center. He pointed out there's nothing in the SECRA regulations saying that CEAs should be small. In fact, he said the types of criteria in the regulations for CEA designation would tend to suggest that CEAs should be large. Lastly, and perhaps of greatest concern to the ENCB, we've heard the argument that, with the exception perhaps of the Ridge, the other proposed areas are neither that unique nor exceptional, and thus should not be designated CEAs. This is important because if we are unmoved by information explaining and justifying the significance of these areas coming from New York State DEC, the New York Natural Heritage Program, the Nature Conservancy, Ulster County, our own open space plan, then we risk continuing to overlook their importance as new development is proposed in them. ENCB can continue to bring up this information, which we have in the past, but without an official town designation, it may have little impact. So as I conclude, I want to stress why the timing for CEAs is right. We don't have any major projects in any of these areas right now that would be affected, but that could change any day. We should anticipate that development can and will eventually happen on any parcel of land that is not protected in our town. CEAs do not protect land, but will provide a minimum measure of oversight to ensure that New Paltz's exceptional habitats and resilient connected lands do not experience death by 1,000 cuts. The ENCB appreciates the town board's consideration of this proposal, and we're here to support you with moving it forward, and we want to thank you for your commitment to making New Paltz a wonderful place to live and helping protect our environment. So in addition, I've provided tables that have the acreage of land by zoning district within the CEAs and acreage of land protected already in nature preserves or under conservation easement in the districts. And based on a comment at the last public hearing, I put together a map showing areas, the proposed areas in relation to existing mapped wetlands and the regulatory buffers approximately under our town law and FEMA floodplain information, and existing protected land, parks and preserves in the community. Thank you.
Nice. Can I keep this?
Thank you. Yes, you can keep that.
Nice. Thank you.
And I'll leave these for other members. Yeah.
They're not here, so we'll just give it to them and put them in there.
Thank you.
If anyone else has any comments about the CEAs, please.
Just go in order of Janelle. Janelle, sorry. I'm Janelle Piotr, resident of Town of New Paltz. I'm actually here though on behalf of Laura Dene. She has asked me to read her letter as she was not able to be here tonight. Dear Town Board, my name is Laura Dene, a filmmaker from New Paltz, who was also on the ENCB for 5 years. I'm writing you with my enthusiastic support for our town creating its own critical environmental areas. Our natural environment is so important to us, our wildlife, and the character of our town, and this is one wonderful step we can take to protect it. Currently, I'm working on a film about this very subject. Well, we're seeing a town near Ellenville created 2 CEAs, one a large swamp and one a farm that serves as a quote greenway unquote to allow animals to get from one forest to the other. The town of Wawarsing is bipartisan, and yet they unanimously decided to pass this. The people we interviewed said they did this because they understand quote what we have unquote. They said that the natural world is not only important for our environment, but also for the economic benefits it brings to their town in terms of tourists and second homeowners. And they told me once you know the area you want to designate, it is not a difficult process. This, of course, will not stop development in these areas. It will just add another extra layer that a developer would need to look at while they are planning within these CEAs. Developing critical environmental areas is also one action we can take to move forward with our Climate Smart Community Pledge. I'd love to speak with any of you if you would like to reach out and further discuss, or even recommend you reach out to Wawarsing with questions. Thank you so much for your hard work in making our town a wonderful place to live. All the best, Laura Dene.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Libby Zamaitis. I'm going to speak as a resident and then I guess as a professional. I'm born and raised in the town of New Paltz. I'm a property owner. My sons are 5th generation New Paltzians. And let's be honest, being a green city, being a green town is only going to spur development. I've seen it across the Hudson Valley where I work. I don't know that that's a good thing from a natural resource standpoint, but doing things like adopting CEAs and being really aggressive is only going to help us grow and help us get tourism and help us get people here. You know, we're seeing it in Kingston, we're seeing it in Piermont, we're seeing it up and down the valley. We've already positioned ourselves as leaders in this area, and we just need to keep upping the ante. This is a very clear-cut, simple thing to do. It should be done everywhere that there's an important area. It's just, you know, acknowledging a fact. So to me, it's very, you know, it's a strategic thing that we can do. The state has $150 million just last year alone, and it's about the same every year to fund communities that want to work on resilience. So the more that we do these things, the more that we're going to be recognized and rewarded, bring in more money, more investment, and just keep building this green brand in New Paltz. You know, we're starting to see other communities take the lead on that, and I think we need to keep up because we've had a longer history of being that town. So from that standpoint, I support it. I think it makes sense for us as a community and as a development strategy. And then moving on more to my professional hat, I've worked in climate resilience for over 15 years, helping communities up and down the Hudson Valley and helping companies nationally and globally working on sustainable development. And again, this is where the money's flowing. This is where the interest is going. I mean, for us to be worried about something like adopting large CEAs, I don't think it's in our best interest. So I am aware of the DEC and part of the project that is highlighting the town of Wawarsing on their recently adopted critical environmental areas. They are two very, very large areas, and they see them as their actual economic future. They see it as part of ecotourism. They're actually coming at it, in part from that standpoint. So I think it's great we're seeing places like Wawarsing are recognized as leaders for this type of thing. So, let's join along. We're actually pursuing, I believe the town and the village are pursuing climate smart community certification. This is a specific action in it that gets you points. That program has over $10 million of funding every year. Sometimes it's under applied for. So let's just have this be one of many steps that we're pursuing climate resilience, ecological resilience. We're getting state funding, and we're really building like the New Paltz green town where everyone wants to be, everyone wants to live. So, thank you.
Thank you.
I can't see the list, but who is anyone else on there?
Mary-
Oh, no. I'm sorry. I thought
You for
just had
public
sign
comment?
in.
Oh, no,
Taking
that's
notes.
fine. Very good.
Yeah, so if next person sign up, speak for this is the public comment for the CEAs.
Yes, I was made aware that I can make a public comment tonight, and my name's Eric Perlman. I'm a resident of the town of New Paltz. And I wanted to voice my support for CEAs. It makes sense to me that the town and village would designate these valuable areas in advance of people considering development, because our innate natural resources in our community are special and unique. I know people have voiced a concern that these areas are too big, but they represent a resource that is valued for not only the flora and fauna that is disappearing in our climate crisis, but for our enjoyment and our benefit. So I just wanted to make my voice heard that this seems like a very practical and important move for our community. And that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
And if is anyone else, please come up. If not, we're going to keep this open so people can come every 2 weeks. And we'll see you in 2 weeks. If no one else has any comments, we'll move on to we'll make a motion to leave this open, and we'll open the floor for public comment about any other issues, if anyone would like to make any comments about other issues, water meters. If not,
No issues in the.
if I can't believe it. I'm giddy after 2 weeks ago. So with that, I'll quickly close public comment, and I'd like to make a motion to approve items 3A through 3D on the consent agenda. 3A through E
Yep.
on the consent agenda.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And then, so Dan, I don't know if you want to talk about this next one. This is authorization, a motion for the supervisor to sign a joint letter with the village regarding refugee resettlement.
So, I know our village colleagues jumped the gun.
They jumped the gun, but
Yeah.
the town board hasn't signed it yet. But,
So I apologize, I was not able to make it last meeting for that and for other things. But just a quick overview, there was a recent executive order by President Trump which requires communities to opt in for even the possibility of accepting refugees within their communities. Just as some background context, We did this already. We had a resolution, and I think it was December of 2016, essentially saying that this was something we were supportive of, and that was something we did proactively on our own. Due to the November election that year, that resettlement never took place. But now there is this executive order in place which makes this a requirement. That's actually being challenged through the court system presently about that not being a necessary requirement. But there was a number of community members who approached me saying that they were interested in this, and I can read the letter quickly,
Yeah.
just for people to hear.
Want this paper?
Even perfect, better on paper. So it says, Dear Secretary Pompeo, this letter is in reference to Executive Order 13888 on enhancing state and local involvement in refugee resettlement. In complying with this request, we feel it's incumbent upon us to educate you on the impact that the 12 refugee families and their descendants have had on their community and the United States. The town of New Paltz was founded in 1678 by French Huguenots. The word refugee entered the English language to describe the very people who established the town that we have inherited. Their early commitment to education over 300 years ago is why we are home to the State University of New York at New Paltz. And in just the last century, a few notable descendants of the original Huguenot refugees include General George Patton, W.E.B. Du Bois, Josiah Du Bois, an attorney for the Treasury Department who drew upon his own heritage as a descendant of the Huguenots when he lobbied the most famous of our New Paltz Huguenot descendants, President Franklin Roosevelt, to allow Jewish refugees into the United States during World War II. This action is estimated to have saved the lives of nearly 200,000 people. The seal of the State Department, along with most federal seals, features the motto of the United States, E pluribus unum, out of many one. Not only do we believe in the sentiment that this phrase has come to represent, but it's also noteworthy that the motto itself originates from a Huguenot. If the restrictions the current administration are imposing today had been in effect when our town was founded, our community and our nation would be at a significant loss. Per the executive order, and in keeping with the centuries-old traditions of our community and the municipal leaders of both the town and village of New Paltz, do hereby consent to the initial resettlement of refugees. So I'd like to move us to formally allow the supervisor to sign that and send that.
Second?
Any other conversation on that? Cool. So all those in favor?
All right.
Awesome. Thank you guys.
Will that letter be like available for us to read at some point?
Yeah, it should be on
Should
the
be on the
town
town's
website
website.
right now as a
Okay.
document.
And-
Yeah.
And labeled as what? Which documents specifically?
So if you go to the town website, we post like where the agenda is, various documents for our meetings, and it should be available there. And if you'd really like a copy, I think we can hand you one before you head out today.
I
So.
could even take a picture.
Okay. Awesome. Yep. No
Thank
problem.
Yeah, we probably have, you might have one in your packet.
Yep. I probably have one too. All right.
So I guess the next is review of highway vehicle replacement plan, and then we have a discussion, if we want to. Chris has asked us, this is, where is this? It's the official form is, what is it? It's what's the, we have to approve this every year for the CHIPS, right? But this is the agreement for the expenditure of highway money. I thought there was a name, the name of it, but, I don't know. 284 form, that's what I'm looking for. So this is the 284 form that the town board approves every year. The highway superintendent submits a list of roads and expenditures for highway money. The town board reviews it and hopefully doesn't micromanage it. Lets the highway department do their job. But it's also a chance to have some input and some comments. And then as part of this, Chris was hoping to buy a truck with, at the end of last year, Chris sold a bucket truck and then asked the town board to buy a new one. Chris was able to get a really good deal on a bucket truck for maybe a third of the price that we thought we were going to get. And I think there's some extra money from that Chris wants to put towards this truck. And then the town board also budgeted some money, I think. Is that right, to buy this truck?
There's an equipment reserve fund.
So we have an equipment reserve fund that we put money in every year. And so I think we're part of that, and it's all lumped. And Chris is asking because part of the CHIPS money will also be used to buy this truck.
No,
Oh,
no chip.
no? Okay. So,
No chip.
Okay, so the CHIPS money is all being used for the roads,
Mhm.
and this is just, you know, if the town board had any discussions. We've also asked in the past that, you know, because we don't have as much experience with the highways as Chris does, it's easier for us to kind of see a bigger picture of, you know, what his plans for replacing vehicles are and, you know, how many we have. And so I asked that be included, and Chris provided it, the town board can read it.
Okay.
And if anyone has any questions, Chris is here.
Mhm.
If not, you know, do you want to talk about the roads that are getting repaved, or?
More than repaving, we're sealing.
You're sealing.
Roads that we've done, hope we get 3 or 4 more years out of, which is chip seal.
Right.
It's on state bid, it's good, but we really don't have money anymore to resurface. We will be doing, hopefully old 299 with some money left over from paved New York and, early winter recovery that we weren't able to spend last year.
Okay.
Just
I've heard
to get that.
they're both being maybe put back into this year's budget. We're at the Association of Towns this week. Nothing's guaranteed, but
There's advocacy day that the highway superintendents go up and, you know, we ask for more. Hopefully something gets put back in, but we have money left over that was able to be transferred. It just so happens that that price seems to work out good for redoing that. So that's one of them trying to, we left a little more in the residual, you see, it was just under $100,000, because we're gonna have to patch pave a lot of the roads first, and then chip seal them.
So I have a question. When you're doing that to all these different roads, when you're doing the filling and then the seal, the amount of money that's spent on patching all these sections of road year after year after year, does that still stay lower than your redoing it and having it actually survive really well for the next?
from Walden, and they both have different ideas, and I've asked them to kind of summarize them, and, you know, I'd like the board to think about it, maybe discuss it, and decide on which applications we're interested in submitting, if any. You know, I think we should, and what we would have them write the grants for. And since they're willing to come to talk about it, I don't know if they both want to come up. You guys want to do it one at a time, but we could start with preferences.
What are they saying,
Yeah, so Rebecca, why don't you come up first? I think I can tell, you know, so we have 3 different, you know, I met with Rebecca and
Murphy.
Bob Murphy, and
He's the planner from Barnum & Jewis and our grant specialist.
And, you know, there's 3 different proposed, you know, grant applications. There's a engineer planning grant to do some I&I work on Main Street. There's a CDBG money for facilities, and this would be for the daycare. And then there's a climate smart communities that would help with green infrastructure along Henry W. And there's different likelihoods of success and different amounts of complications for each one of these grants. And I don't know if people have questions about them. What I can say is, you know, when we had our discussions, one of the reasons for the CDBG grant money for the daycare was that the governor is emphasizing daycare in this year's CFA applications, and they've been said that they will be looked upon, you know, more favorably, and that's that. And then the climate smart communities one, the idea is, well, if we're doing all of this work on Henry W, and it's going to take us at least a year and a half to plan, does it make sense to apply for another grant now and try to get more money to do green infrastructure work on top of what we're already doing? That was the rationale.
I'd like to know what that entails, what the green infrastructure work entails for that project.
So for, as you know, the TAP funding was awarded for bike lane and sidewalk on Henry W. Du Bois. And that grant application, the costing that was developed for that application included some money for just standard stormwater drainage improvements, you know, hardscape type improvements. And So the thinking, which was something that Neil approached me to talk about, was about wouldn't it be great to have green infrastructure instead of your traditional drainage, stormwater drainage, and so obviously that's going to add a cost to the project, and the idea being that the match for the climate smart community is 50%, and you could use federal funds from the TAP funding application to match that, and so you're sort of juggling the budget there, but assuming that green infrastructure is 50% more than your traditional, you're not going to end up spending any more money, and you're going to have a better outcome.
Because we're in for about 500, right, on the current project.
No, we could use the money we're getting as part of the TAP grant, the $2 million, as a match.
I see.
The
So we wouldn't have to spend additional money if we won this grant.
Right. Yes. Yeah. That's the
Still be in
thinking,
for
is
what
that you
we're-
wouldn't have to spend additional money.
But we would get a better product.
Yeah.
You
You
wouldn't
know,
spend less money either.
we wouldn't
But
send,
you'd
yeah,
get
we
a
wouldn't
better
save,
product.
we don't save money by doing
No,
this.
it's a greener project if we're able to win the grant. And what's the likelihood on a grant like that?
So it's hard to say with the climate smart communities. There's a lot of different types of projects that are eligible. We think this is a good project in that it ticks some of the boxes of it supports non-vehicle traffic, which with the bike lane, and there's some localized flooding in that area. And so obviously for climate smart, it has to be resiliency projects, and so with more intense storms and more frequency and having localized flooding there, that we can demonstrate that obviously this is going to assist that issue. We can also demonstrate degradation and erosion into the Millbrook, tributary 13 there. So there's sort of a lot of elements coming together. None of those are, it's not a guarantee, of course, and none of those are, doesn't fit exactly, but I guess the other aspect is with the Empire State Trail and the high visibility there, and the DEC seems to be wanting to, fund opportunities around the Empire State Trail. That's also gives it a bit of a
And the TAP, is the TAP a totally different resource, or is it all both state funding and they're kind of like, we've already given you $2 million for this project, we're not going to give you more money on this project?
The TAP is federal.
Uh-huh. So it's seen as different.
This is seen as different.
So the TAP is federal highway funding, and what I'm hearing anecdotally, such as from the village's mayor, that bumps up the cost because of the specifications for most projects. Would that bump up in cost then spill over to the green infrastructure that might be created?
Anytime you have state or federal funding, your costs are going to be.
Well, yes, but federal funding appears to be significantly more problematic in terms of overall project costs than other sources of funds that are not federal highway transportation funds.
Right. I mean, it's all going to be part of one project when it's constructed. So a lot of time those increased costs are around construction inspections. There's higher requirements for full-time versus part-time construction inspectors. So with it being in the same project, it probably will push up the price.
And would the budget that's being submitted with the ask reflect those incremental or potentially incremental costs so that they wouldn't become a burden?
Yes. Yes. So I mean, with the proposal is obviously to have a look at Henry W. Du Bois and what green infrastructure options are possible, and come up with a preliminary sort of concept design, and then cost that, and then we would include all those contingencies, and then any additional contingencies for extra construction inspection that might be required due to state.
Neil, this is one of your areas of knowledge. So considering the constraints that we might have with right-of-way, is there space physically to incorporate still more within that right-of-way, green infrastructure in this case?
I mean, well, there has to be drainage no matter what.
Yes.
Right, and so you have different, I think there are times when the green infrastructure can actually take up less space, right? Not all the time, but the infiltration basins and things like that. But you know, you have to do something with the water. Right now, we have ditches, and, you know, you can put the ditches back in, you could bury the pipes. Something has to be done, and I don't, you know, Rebecca would know more for sure, but this, just because it's green doesn't mean it necessarily takes up more space.
Yeah,
You know,
I mean,
but-
we're looking, I mean, what we've been talking about is having, and I know what the community is very interested in, is having buffered bike lanes or, you know, buffered shared use. And so you have the opportunity in the buffer, potentially, you know, tree pits within sidewalks. There's different opportunities. You know, right of way and acquisition is always going to be a constraint. So until we have survey and really get, you know, into that detailed design stage, it's hard to say. But you know, based on assumed highway boundary at the moment, the right of way appears to be clear. And as far as ownership, there may be some physical encroachments there, but the ownership appears to be clear, and so some level of green infrastructure is feasible.
The more money you have, the more flexibility you have to
course.
do different things. It's, you know,
Yeah.
everything costs money.
But
It's
that would
a long
impact-
shot.
Picking the right design would impact the budget, so hopefully we'd have thought through that in a very, very short period of time to know what to ask for.
Right, and so that's why, I mean, this proposal is more expensive than some of the others because there is an element of design that is required in order to ask for the right amount of funding.
And if the request was funded, would I think you've asked for $4,800 for this one, would that be an eligible project cost, or is that a cost that the town board just
No,
has to
it
absorb?
Comes out of the grant money. We can't,
It
nothing.
does or doesn't come out of the grant money?
It does not. We don't have authorization to spend. Anything we spend now is not reimbursable because we don't have authorization to spend money yet. So until we get that authorization, nothing's reimbursable.
What impact, and I'm going to guess I direct this to Chris, what impact would green infrastructure be in an area where I think you were contemplating using the wing plow to clear those bike lanes? Would it make any difference?
Have to see what it looks like. You know, anything is separated from the roadway. We run into the same problem that we discussed with the infrastructure.
Yes.
Now with equipment and or whatever. That's why when we designed the bike lanes to begin with, we made it so that the plow can clear everything in one shot.
Mm-hmm.
But I have to see what's designed. If there's gonna be trees, you can't lean over or something.
Well, I heard Rebecca mention trees and wells and sidewalks, but, you know, you also mentioned a buffer, and I don't know where you were contemplating that buffer in your design, but if that buffer were a physical buffer that was above the elevation of the roadbed, then that would adversely impact on the costs for maintaining the bike trail.
There
We-
will-
It'd be
Yeah.
nice to create a buffer to separate and protect the people using that
Yeah,
pedestrian bike range,
people-
but it does have
Yeah.
an economic impact that we all should at least be aware of and
Mhm.
make
Yeah.
sure we're okay
Yeah,
with.
But I think we're gonna go through those
That's a
designs.
separate-
You know, it's a separate discussion, but.
Well, it's a separate discussion, but if it's imperative to do what you're trying to achieve by creating those buffers.
No,
then-
that, I think it was offered as a potential, but, you know, drainage still has to be taken care of. And so if the bike lane is next to the road, or if the green infrastructure is between the bike lane and the road, or on the other side of the bike lane, you could still put green infrastructure in.
And you could still plow it with the wing,
If it's on the other side, right?
but
You-
not if it's a buffer between.
Yeah, but that's not the green infrastructure is a separate discussion of whether or not it's buffered or not buffered, or protected or not protected. By putting in green infrastructure, you're not deciding that you can only
Right.
have protected bike lanes.
No. Those would be the alternatives that, you know.
So if this is due on the 27th, we have one more meeting on the 10th, our joint meeting.
But they can't write a grant and do the engineering. I mean, these have to be.
Will we have some sense of this by the June 10th meeting? Because our next meeting is the 20th, and this is due on.
Yeah, no, I was hoping for, like, we have to decide tonight on these, to start these grant applications.
And let's assume that we approve this one tonight, I'll just take them one at
Yeah.
a time. And so now, we have at regular meetings between now and the submittal date, 2 meetings, the 10th and the 20th. By the time we get to the 20th, would we have an opportunity to learn what the general plan is with respect to, I'm thinking of the buffer specifically?
That's not being decided, that's gonna be decided by after the designers come back, they're gonna give us different alternatives for the design. This is not gonna decide how the bike trail gets designed.
It would be at a very high level of, dollar per square foot for a type of green infrastructure that might be appropriate based on the soil conditions. And so, you're talking about a very high level conceptual type design for the purposes of cost estimate.
Would
So-
you use the word buffer in your application?
Probably not. We might have used the word buffer in the TAP application, but more as buffer. I mean, a buffer can be line striping.
Ah,
Yeah.
So it doesn't necessarily
It's
represent
it's not necessarily a physical barrier that would
So
impede
we said
snow.
buffer, but I don't think we said it was a physical barrier. Because as you said, there's maintenance implications, which there would be.
And the town board might say, we still want something that increases our maintenance costs.
Mhm.
That's-
Or, you don't use it in the winter if you can't. There's different options, so.
We're okay with people getting hit by cars. We can decide. So, if people have other questions, so, the CDBG money for the daycare, that, the other rationale for applying for that now is that, we did include the idea of the daycare as part of the downtown revitalization initiative, and we have been told that things that are included in the DRI, if the DRI is not funded, usually they're given extra consideration. So you try to apply and keep your multiple places, but even just like a kind of a narrative that like, well, we've asked here, but we're also asking here, and it's kind of like not really a consolation prize, but it is, you're told, keep applying. And that's why that was included, and so that's just a other thing.
There are a couple of questions, I guess I have, or points I'd like to make. One, when we went through, just to give the frame of reference, Barton and LaJudas has requested a $6,000 payment for doing this. When we did our budget discussions and negotiations last November, one of the premises that we had was that we would no longer invest monies in the daycare center. And we didn't fund a line item for daycare. So my question is, why are we now proposing to spend $6,000 for the daycare center?
Because we have grant money in the budget, and this is to write a grant.
But we have said that we're not, that I think I would take a different perspective and say that's trying a subterfuge around what we said. No more money for the childcare
Well,
center.
we get to vote as a board
I am
on what we
one
spend
voice,
our
and
money
I
on.
get to share my thoughts with the board for hopefully the board to consider that. The second is that in today's newspaper, the statement, this is signed by Tim Rogers, Casey Tobin, Neil Betez, and Kathy Preston. It says, childcare, there is a critical lack of childcare in the town and village of New Paltz. There are, I believe, 7 childcare centers in the town and village of New Paltz, one of which just has grown and moved into new location. And that's the marketplace, the private sector driving what the needs are and responding to those needs. The child care center at Duzine School, which we're referring to here, was the first one in New Paltz, and it was with a grant, and it became a stimulus, and it became a catalyst for still more daycares, the other 6 or so, however
I don't know
many
if
there
that's
are.
the case or not. I do know that the governor,
Neil, no, I
the
think
governor
I
has
s-
said
Neil,
that
I
there
still
is a
have-
shortage.
I still have the table, I think.
Okay.
If I could finish, please. Neil, you were, and I don't know if you still are, on the board of the daycare center. Your child has gone to, maybe still goes, that
I'm
raises a...
I'm on the board as
As a
the town
town
board's
board
representative.
Yes.
Not
I'm not on there as
Several
a.
months ago, I requested from you if you could please give me some information as to the demographics of the kids that are there, how many of them live in town and how many don't, how many of the employees live in town and how many don't, how many of the students there, have their parent as a teacher, to try to become better informed as to how much of an asset is this that the town board wants to invest money in. We said we don't want to invest any more money in it. We're happy to give it to them for $1. I don't think they've
I
ever
don't
been
think.
approached with that.
Well, whatever. The board gets to decide what we want to invest money in and not.
And
so
as
we
a
would
board
take-
member, I get to share my
and
perspective, which
so-
is what
so
I'm doing.
You should say, you
I
have
think it's
decided.
abundantly clear. I'm saying this is my perspective.
Yeah.
If you don't like my perspective, if I'm 1 out of 5 on vote on this, that's fine. I get to share my perspective. And I hope that it helps inform all of us.
I just wanted to say that I don't think that the town board ever said we never want to invest money into that place again.
Do we want to go back and look at the video record of it?
Is that what
Yes.
others?
Because I balked at funding that line item in the
I know,
budget.
but that doesn't mean, that was for 1 year.
We have no money in the line item, and
Right,
the
but that was for
default...
1 year.
Wasn't that because we were actually doing the repairs through other funds and we
No,
weren't
it
touching
was
that
because we
line?
concluded, and we can go back and correct me if I'm
We
wrong.
decided not to include money in the budget for repairs, but no one
Yeah.
said we do not want to put money into the daycare in any means whatsoever.
That's right.
And
We
and
put
s-
$0 in the
Well,
line
and,
Still
and,
item
doesn't
and
mean-
so,
for the daycare
yeah, that's,
center.
and that's fine. That was the vote then. But we have, this would be a request to put $6,000 of grant money to writing a grant for the daycare.
When you say of grant money, do we have a grant to write the grant? Is that what you're saying?
We have, I think, I think Kathy sent it around, but I think we have $15,000 in the grant writer line.
So it's not grant money that's paying for the grant. It's
grant writer
taxpayer money that's paying
line.
for the grant.
That we've
out of a line
allocated
item
for the
grants.
purposes
Of writing
grants.
CFA and other grants.
I'd
Right?
take my piece.
And so, when we decided to, last year, when we decided that we were not gonna put money into the playground, and then we decided to pay someone to write a grant to try to get more grant money for the playground, no one said, as a board, we've decided to not support the playground anymore. That's what you're saying.
No, saying we decided not to
You-
continue to subsidize one daycare center over the other 6 that are in the private sector.
And then,
Have we talked about the third grant?
the third grant is an engineering planning grant to look at I&I on Main Street. You can get up to $30,000 for a planning grant. The grant costs $1,000.
Can you talk a little bit about what that would entail?
For anyone.
Yeah, so that's, obviously, the village wastewater treatment plant has a consent order on it, which, they have been getting money over the years and seeking money over the years to do I&I investigations, and they're working their way through the system and making repairs as needed to reduce inflow and infiltration into the system. So I guess the thinking is that there's sections of the town sewer districts that could be obviously contributing groundwater to the system, and that the town would use this engineering planning grant money, up to $30,000, to study the I&I issue, and then obviously the $30,000 is just for the study, and then following that, you would attempt to get money for any repairs. And I think the thinking behind it is obviously, the more capacity that's in the village, it's, beneficial to the town as well, for transferring flows or expanding town sewer districts.
And I think I'm pretty sure we would have to use funds from the district for that, but I have to check for sure. I think in the past we've had to do that. So it may be that the sewer district money has to pay for that grant. But it's $1,000. I think there's money in the sewer district for that. But that's,
And then there is a match for
And there's
this,
match.
so, so if you're talking about a $6,000 match, then, I'm assuming that would come out of
yeah.
the district as well.
Any other questions? Thanks.
Thanks, Rebecca.
Appreciate it.
Rebecca, let me, one more question. So if we were gonna apply for two of these, which ones do you think we'd have the most likely chance of winning?
Well, I think the EPG is a pretty good likelihood of getting that money. Out of the other two, I mean, as Neil said, the child care, you know, the governor's taken interest, and there's sort of new money there, and potentially other municipalities, you know, it's not on their radar yet, and so maybe you're getting it in ahead of the curve. So, you know, it feels like that would be maybe a little higher. It's really hard to say. Obviously, it comes down to competition.
Yeah. I mean, I think they're all long shots. Not totally long shots, but, you know, we apply and you do the best you can, but none of them are ever guaranteed.
Totally get that.
Can I bring up one other grant?
Yeah, please.
So.
Oh, did I miss one?
No, it's
Oh,
not,
sorry.
well, we haven't provided a proposal for it, but we did talk about it at the meeting, which is the WIA grant for the Ohioville, wastewater treatment plant. So, obviously, there's been a lot of studies over the year on, the Ohioville wastewater treatment plant, and the latest, you know, engineering report is, and concept is to transfer those flows to the village. And so, the WIA grant, which hasn't come out yet, but will be announced this summer, is a great opportunity to try and get funds, for that project. And, what I've recently heard about is that, and maybe, Neil, you've already been informed of this, but the DEC is getting serious about requiring disinfection for all of their plants. And I believe New Paltz is on the list, that, you know, it will be coming sooner than later. So it's sort of another driver to get ready and apply for the WIA grant. So, I mean, we've talked about that grant, and we haven't provided any proposal because it's not out yet. But
it is part of this budget year, so can you give us an idea, so do you have a rough number on what you think that would cost? Because that seems like a pretty important one.
the grant itself.
Yeah, I mean, we have money, Neil, correct me if I'm
Yeah,
wrong,
yeah.
to write grants.
Yeah.
So we gotta choose which applications
Yep.
to make.
Yep.
I think it would probably be in the order of 5,000. But don't, you know, hold me to that number.
Great.
But
Yeah.
that's what I feel would be in the order. And the one thing that's important in preparation for that, and I have this handout here, which just gives you a list of what needs to happen before the WIA grant. And so, you know, you need a bond resolution, you need an
Before we can apply.
For-
before the application goes in. So, for example,
And they're doing September usually, right?
well, it's
August,
different each
September.
year. Last year they were due in September, and the year before they were due a little earlier. So they'll be announced.
Depends on the auction.
Hopefully they'll be announced in the summer, or earlier in the summer, and potentially, for example, in September if we're applying. But the bond resolution has to be passed. Seeker has to be complete. The one that is probably will take the most time is an intermunicipal agreement with the village. It'll be important. It's really important for that grant to demonstrate that, you know, everyone's on the same page, and there's an IMA in place. So it's just some things to think about before that grant is announced.
Thanks.
Thank you.
For the sewer department, that's the most important grant.
Sorry, can I hear your comment, Chris? I'm sorry.
Speaking for the sewer department, that grant to, like, connected to the village and all that,
Mhm.
is the most important one there. Sewer six is in dire need. We've already been contacted by DEC about the disinfection. We're about to probably put $100,000 to $200,000 into that plant, just to keep it barely operational.
Now you look at that as like a sunk cost, that it's not, that we gotta change that anyway, so we're either put 100 to 200 in, or we're gonna.
I think it's just throwing money away. We're putting money in dead horse
Yeah.
to keep it.
Before we put too much money in, we should talk. 'Cause-
Oh, no, agreed.
But you,
We couldn't do all this, but we're to the point where we're on the DEC's radar, and
they're not gonna take us
it's
off.
gonna happen sooner than later.
So that's an important grant to be ready for.
Might-
It would seem it would be a proposal you might want to consider soliciting from B&L for that. I mean, we have an off-the-cuff.
Yeah, we've been
estimate.
talking about it. Yeah, so we'll.
And
we-
what that
but-
would cost would, if that was a choice that we made as a priority and it was $5,000, that would leave us $10,000 in the line item. that
I
we
think it
could-
comes out of the sewer 6 fund.
Ah,
That's,
That's a lot.
The
that's,
non-existent sewer 6 fund.
that's the problem, I think.
Yes.
Oh, that we don't have money in that sewer 6 fund, we could not fund that from the town.
Yeah, we need to
That
talk to,
couldn't write the
to
grant.
talk
It
to
would be
Gene
the-
about that.
it would be
but
the
that-
Whether we
users,
can move
correct?
money to fund that grant. And it looks like there's legal costs and other things that are also part of making that kind of application.
Yeah, but I think in the past we have, we've written the grants with the expectation that it will be reimbursed
Yep.
at some point.
So
some of
we've in
these
effect
costs.
lent the money to
Yeah.
the sewer district.
But don't quote me on that, but,
Well, it would seem like it would be a valuable proposal to have from consultants.
And we have
so if
total,
you could write up a proposal, Rebecca, and submit it to the board, that would be great.
and we have a total of $10,000 to
That's
spend on grants this year?
15.
15.
15. Can we hear from our other guest?
On up.
Good evening, my name is Greta White, I'm a project geologist with Walden Environmental Engineering. My coworker Ted Nitza was not able to be here this evening, he was out of town on a project. You may remember Ted was here last month discussing with you your other request proposals for your solar panels on your landfills.
Yes.
That RFP has been put out, and you'll be happy to know that it is attracting interest from many of those area professionals. So this evening's effort, though, here to talk about some proposals based on Ted's awareness of things going on in the community and his discussions with Supervisor Neil Batez. We are seeking to prepare up to 3 applications for plant engineering planning grants that was just discussed through the consolidated funding application, and they won't be for construction funding or design, but it would be to do the study and then make a proposed project. The planning grants would assist the town with tackling some of your environmental concerns, particularly the impacts to the Wallkill, Tributary 13, and other community waterways. The efforts would propose relief to the failed or failing systems that you have in the village's existing sewer facilities, specifically, as I mentioned, the Tributary 13 and the struggling Ohioville sewer system. The planning grants would propose including efforts to review the town's existing sewer facilities, which we understand haven't been evaluated to this point, and the village's wastewater treatment plant to look for opportunities to provide you with more capacity, which would be required to pull in some of these other struggling areas into your system. The septic relief projects would not only provide public health and environmental stewardship benefits, but also provide economic opportunities towards the town's goals. We have a couple of different grant programs that we have on the board for you, and that's included in your packets here today, or in the back on the right-hand side are some of the grants we're looking at. We have talked to some of the grant program contacts to confirm that the town of New Paltz is an eligible town and that you would be attractive as a potential candidate for award. They thought that you had based on few of our ideas we had that we discussed with them, they thought that they sounded like good projects and that you would have a good chance of success with them. So our process would then begin with having discussions with the town officials and comparing and contrasting those couple of different program opportunities and seeing what makes sense for these with regard to the town's goals. Topics such as the alignment of your goals and the program's goals, what would be required from you for local matches, and also potential other routes for funding would be key discussion points that we would need to have. So with that said, I appreciate the opportunity to present our proposal here to you tonight, and I would be willing to answer any questions and concerns or issues that you may have.
So this is, just to be clear, this is not a grant application, this is a study to get ready for a grant application?
It would be 4 grant applications,
Okay.
up to 3.
And so, I mean, to kind of give people a background
Please, thanks.
on this, so when I talked to Ted about this, Ted's been doing work with the village and doing some studies on their wastewater treatment plant capacity, And so what we talked about is, we as a town are somewhat beholden to the villages granting us sewer capacity, when we want to connect. And so one of the ways that we can these studies, if I understand right, are to find that capacity through finding leaks in the existing sewer systems. And getting grant money to find those leaks and then propose to the village if we could offset those leaks, we would then have that capacity. Is that right?
Yeah, we'd be looking at the infrastructure you have and seeing what small changes could we make to bump up your capacity, whether it's
And to make
changing,
agreements with the
configuring
village that
rooms.
if we're able to eliminate some of the leakages, that they would offer us more capacity.
That's my,
And would-
that's how I think this proposal came back from Ted.
Works.
That's my understanding, right?
So would we have that assurance from the village before investing $6,000 that should we identify surplus capacity, they would commit to giving it to town projects? Or is that aspirational?
It was kind of mentioned during a comment once when we were talking with I think one of our joint meetings that said, well, if you could find it, could you, if you can find leaks, that makes it a lot more likely that we would be able to have that capacity. But there is nothing is written and guaranteed.
And also, the $6,000 is for the grant writing, not for the finding of leaks.
It's the $6,000 is to write the grants to find the leaks.
Yeah.
So I mentioned how I spoke with the grant planning coordinating officers, and they suggested, because the municipality can only apply to up to 2 of these engineering planning grants at a time, that perhaps the village would want to put in an application and the town would want to put in an application, and that way you could get all 3 or 4 potentially projects in.
And yeah, so I think they might be, I'm not sure if they are, but, so there are 3 potential engineering planning grants here?
There are 3 projected projects that we suggest on that, and the
If we
$6,000
picked, are they $2,000 each? Or are they $2,000 each? If we did 1 or 2 of them, would it be 2 or 4, or is
I
it?
would have to ask Tim.
What is the submission deadline for this, please?
They're all July 26th.
Oh, this is, all right, just like the other CFAs.
We can only apply for 2 at a time.
And one of them, the first B&L grant is an engineering planning grant, so that's the I&I on Main Street, and it's kind of along the same lines, so.
This would seem like, and maybe I'm missing something, so I put it out so I can be informed by you all. This would seem like something that's for the village's benefit, and maybe, possibly, for the town's benefit.
Well, if there are leaks, they are leaks in the town sewer districts.
But the grant, the $6,000 won't identify them, as Julie was saying, but it would provide funds to identify those leaks, infiltration, exfiltration leaks?
Yeah, so these are to identify leaks in the town's sewer districts.
Yep.
That sewage eventually ends up in the village, but it's grants to do work in town districts.
And I think if you want to review the work authorization, it kind of breaks down a little bit better the 3 different proposed projects.
Yep. It feels to me like this is important work. I feel like that the Du Bois project is worthy and should be looked at. And I do agree that if you're applying for the BRI grant for the child care facility, backing that up with another grant and including that is also important. Those would be the 3 I'd be interested in personally. I'm sorry, the WIA grant.
The WIA.
Needs to be, we need to put that, the money for the WIA grant, that's the other one that, to me, if we can get that all in the budget, that I think we need to save the money for the, make sure we're ready for that WIA grant.
So you're
The
inclined
three
towards.
higher priorities to me are the WIA grant, the one Greta is,
Mhm.
the Greta submission, and the Du Bois would be the top three for me.
I'm sorry, what was your
And-
second one?
The WIA grant, Greta's proposal on the engineering work on the sewer system.
Okay, that's what I meant, yep.
And
okay.
The Du Bois project. And then if we have additional funds to bring the child care center, I would use the rest of it there.
Yes, so the Du Bois was 4,800. And I'm using just the 5,000 that was
Yep,
estimated
yep.
off, we put her
Yep.
on the spot.
Yeah, so now
11,
we're at-
that's-
now we're at
15,800 and we have 15.
Yeah. Then I would rather see us do those three, but the six here may not be six. It may be, if we're only doing two and it's 2,000 each, that we'd be at 4, or something like that. You can get the
Well, we
answer
can,
to
o-
us
we
on
can,
that.
we can only apply for
Two
two.
of those, yeah, I'm saying, so it's only gonna be
Yeah.
as, 4 if Ted gives us the right answer, which is 2 grants, 2,000 each.
But the WIA doesn't count as one of those.
No, you counted 5 for that,
Mhm.
4 for.
I mean, in terms of the number we can apply for, the WIA is not one of those, 2, the magic, except,
Something different.
Seems like we don't have the right number, we don't know the amount though, right? That the- that
oh,
these would
I
cost.
I put Rebecca on the spot and said, give us a number, and that's
Feels like
Make up a
we
number.
talked
really not fair, but
the
it
money
gives us
out.
some frame of reference at least.
There are 3 grants
We're
written
negotiating
for
for
this
you.
description.
There are 3 how much we willing to pay you.
So it would be 3 separate grants.
Anyone else? Any questions?
Yes, it seems one important thing is to get clarification from Ted about the cost, how that's broken up. But I would agree with David about the priorities.
So,
So that, like, child-
so the WIA one, we just, that wouldn't be discussed today. We would just try to take that money out
Try to hold
of there. And then we have, so it seems like the one for the green infrastructure, I don't know, that's, if people want to make motions, we can vote on the different grants.
Yeah.
I'd like to make a motion that we hold $5,000 of our grant funds for the WIA grant.
Second?
Discussion. Is 5,000 still your thinking? You've had 5 more minutes to think about it.
I mean, I can't give you,
Yeah, okay.
any guarantees that I'm just going to ballpark based on what I
Mhm.
think the level of effort might be,
Of course not.
That is the one we have the least information on. I'm a little hesitant.
It's the one that we're hearing from Chris, from his perspective.
Right, I know.
Is extremely valuable
terms of the
because we're going to
details.
spend a
Can I-
100
can
or
I-
200.
Can I offer it as, I would like to offer it as a three grant package, not consider it individually,
Yeah.
and let the supervisor work on the negotiating around that, the WIA grant. And so the WIA, that we can, if we can do the WIA grant, and if Ted and Greta come back with a portional price to us approving, or to applying for 2 of the grants under this, and the Du Bois grant at, how much was the Du Bois grant? 4,800. That we work with those, for those 3 grants, and as long as we can be under budget, let the, or on budget, the supervisor can approve those, because we are on a time crunch, and we wanna meet those deadlines and not feel overrushed, which we already are.
For Rosanna's benefit, I'm willing to withdraw my second from the first motion. You're choosing to withdraw
Yeah.
your first motion.
Yeah. Yeah.
Would
My
like to
amended
second
motion.
your second motion.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you
All
for
right, thanks.
bringing up the WIA, or we would have missed that opportunity.
Yeah, I really appreciate that, and thanks, Chris, for
Thanks.
your comment.
Let's see, all right. So I'd like to make a motion to authorize items 2A through 2K on the consent agenda.
Second?
Seconded?
All in favor?
Aye.
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 I'd like to make a motion to approve the June warrant in the amount of $583,203.38.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
We're tabling the maintenance agreement, and let's see, a motion to rescind the,
Did we want to talk, I think we wanted to talk about the maintenance agreement, did we not?
either way.
Is that something that, Chris, did
I
you
got
need,
something
did you
specific
want
to
to,
read
you want to
out.
have a discussion on that here?
This is what
We had
Rick
discussed it in the meeting the
said.
other day, if you want to inform the board about it, that's fine.
I'd love to hear that.
What happened, or we can send an email out later.
I'd love to hear just a quick report on where we
Yeah,
are
I wanted to
on
go,
that.
but I could not, I had to work.
Chris and Marty and I met with people from DOT and Hudson River Greenway. Chris, I think, had a very well put together wish list of things that we would need to have to do the maintenance on the trail for the mowing and the plowing, which is what they're asking us to do. They have, we just got the response back tonight, like right before the meeting, that they're happy to buy us a mower, but they don't have the funds for the attachment for the snow blower, and so as it stands now, we would not be able to remove the snow, in particular from the bridge that goes over the thruway. We could not physically do that with the equipment we own, if I understand it right.
We could, it's just the equipment that we own currently, we've modified to work on other sides of the
different.
bridges. So for us to take that modification apart and move it across the street is hours and hours. And
Yeah, we can't do that every storm.
Yeah, we
Sure.
can't
So
do
like,
that.
we just don't,
So this would be, we would not do snow removal on that part of the trail?
We do it on
And
one
Is that
side.
acceptable to them?
Well, that was,
I think that's what we have to, we need to go back and, we can talk about it tonight, but our response back is, well, are you okay if we do not plow it? And my nervousness about us, even if they say, sure, you don't have to plow it, as soon as it snows, people are going to want to plow it.
Yeah.
And then people are going to be
We'll
coming
look
to
back.
every town board meeting and say, plow the snow, and we're going to have to come up with, I don't know, what's that thing cost, the snow blower? $8,000. So
even if they gave it to us, that'll last, Chris can say, 8, 10, 12 years, and we're going to have another capital cost. The lawnmower, the one that they proposed, they showed us a proposal for Rosendale, for another community, $7,777. That's the value of that they've offered. Chris counted in his list 3 weed whackers, $250 a piece, and I don't remember the other couple items. But from my perspective, the state said, we're going to put this in your town, and then after that, they came and said, now we want you, your taxpayers, to bear the burden of not just the capital costs, and even if they gave us everything on his list, the lawnmower will last 5 or 6 or 7 years, the snow blower 8 or 10, and the town now is on the hook for, in perpetuity, replacing the capital equipment and all of the labor to do this.
What I will say is that they built a $6 million trail.
That's
It cost
nice.
us nothing. And at some point, it's not the DOT that's asking us to do this. They are, but this is the governor's office basically asking us to do this. And so we should be very, very careful about just saying no and telling the governor to stuff it.
Absolutely. And they
So
spent
I
how many
think-
hundreds of millions of dollars on the rail trail, and they can't come up with even the first time only capital expense of another $8,000 or $10,000?
So I think I would like to continue having a conversation and see if we can come to some sort of an agreement on this.
we also had a long discussion with Joe Moriello on the contract. We had a question about snow and ice removal. He felt the same way I did, which is still doing research, that if you're gonna plow it, you better salt it. Reading through the contract again tonight, the state owns the path. They're claiming we own the black line. So ownership, someone falls on it, and, runs through the town, and we can have to decide to do maintenance on it. It's the state's issue. From my assumption, Joe's looking
Yeah.
into it.
Yeah.
I guess we'll have to see
The buffer is good to
Which is
protect
not their
folks.
fault, it's the only way I think it can be designed, but it's something that we're gonna have to contend with
Yeah.
forever if
Yeah.
we decide to do it.
Yeah, I echo Neil's point. This is coming through our town, it's bringing economic activity into our community, it's bringing recreational resources into our community. It's a great resource for our community, and we've gotten this federal funds to really make Du Bois accessible. I think we have to negotiate carefully about, just because they weren't smart enough to negotiate their agreement up front, on this. I think we have to be
And
careful.
A traditional agreement, just so everyone's aware, if this had been done the way they normally do it, you agree to all of the maintenance, including capital costs. So you have to replace the blacktop, we would be taking that on. But because they did it this way, all they're asking us to do is snow and ice. If it were done the traditional way, we would be taking on, when
So
it needs to be.
They are gonna replace the blacktop when it's all, this is their trail.
Their trail,
When it
they
gets-
replace
when
the
it gets
blacktop,
rutted
they
up, they're gonna
replace
fix
all
it.
capital expenses. If someone hits a pole, one of those pedestrian poles for crossings, they fix it.
Including,
Any fixed asset that's on that trail.
and
Yeah.
including the work we do on Du Bois to.
No,
improve it.
we're responsible for that,
We
because
are.
it's the traditional way.
Oh, okay, on the Du Bois
Yeah,
part of it.
but this is different.
Right, okay.
So because they're coming to us after the fact, they're only asking us to take on the maintenance.
Yeah, okay.
Well,
I think it's let's let the discussion continue and discuss it in another meeting. Next meeting.
I just so you know, I just sent an email back to yours, just saying, we're not, I think right now, it was only my opinion, I'm not interested in doing this, so I did that to see what
Yeah.
come up from the conversation.
But we can say what we're interested in, not interested in doing, and next fall when it snows, there'll be 20 people here yelling at us to get that snow off there.
Unless
already
you,
heard
unless you
from-
close it and say this is seasonal now because it's not maintained.
It's such a community asset. There will be a public outcry. You know, already
It's a big plus for
the people that came for Brook Ferris, nearly every one of them said they love the Empire Trail. You know, it's a huge asset.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
let's negotiate carefully.
Are
we ready to
Great,
move
I'll let
on?
you take over, Marty.
Yes.
Phil is right.
I move to rescind the June 6, 2019 board action adopting lead agency and the portion of the June 6, 2019 board action that declared a negative declaration, as these actions were moved prematurely in the secret process.
Okay.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, so moved.
Go to exec session.
The last item, can we handle the last item?
Well, I make a
Oh.
motion to authorize Chief Snyder to trade in the old police car as part of the purchase of the new one.
Seconded?
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So I make a motion to go into executive session to discuss a contract and personnel.
Second.
You want to tell Dave that he has the price off?
Yeah, Dave, it's 8 million, not 12 million?
8 million, not.
It's 8 million and not 12 million.
In your letter, Dave, you said, you state the cost projected at 12 million. Our resolution that we passed, based on numbers we've gotten from third parties, suggests 8 million. Still a big number, but not 12 million big.
Yeah, we're not diminishing your comments.
I don't recall what it said.
Motion to return from executive session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. So we have two motions. I'd like to make a motion to promote Lloyd Luckett to transfer station operator provisionally until he gets his CDL, and for the town to pay for him to get his CDL.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I move that we agree to settle our contract with Joseph Hurwitz Architect, for which we have a $20,000 unpaid amount for the sum of $5,000 and receipt of a complete release.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye. Motion to adjourn.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.